Live. Hello, people.
Hello,
Okay,
hello.
tonight we are going to have fun. Tonight we're talking about a very interesting topic, and I'm sure we'll have someone around here expressing themselves in a very specific way about this lovely topic. It's called Taking Back the Shadow. Um, and of course, it's about shadow work and the shadow self and what people express it to be, which is a very new, I would say the term at least, is a very new age thing and expression, whereas the act of it and what it actually means is not a new age thing. It is something that, as a practitioner and as a witch, it's something that we constantly do, and it's something that we're always doing. So, uh, what we are going to do tonight is take, and if y'all want to suggest any like categories for us to pull cards on, please go ahead and do that. What we're gonna do is take three cards. We're gonna shuffle. We're gonna focus on like the past energy of a situation and what that means. And then we're gonna take another card and focus on the present and how we can utilize that past experience to help our present moment. And then we'll take another card, three cards, y'all, um, to focus on the future. So if we act upon that, if we heal, work through it, whatever, we will have that information and see like a probable, possible future and how that will influence us. So before we do that, I think we should talk a little bit about shadow work and what your perceptions are of it. So I'm curious to see what Mr. River has to say.
Well, I'm good. I'm going to be a little bit more PC than I normally am when it comes to this topic, for just the sake of not sounding like an asshole. I don't like the term shadow work, and it's not the practice in and of itself, and it's not necessarily the terminology. I do not like how New Agers, and you know who you are, uh, do not um, own up to their shit. They blame a lot of things on shadow work. So I'm going to be a complete dick to you, but I'm just going to let you know that my reason for being a complete dick to you is that I'm working through my shadow self. Okay, no. I am from the old school way of thinking where you deal with your shit, and that's our shadow work. You deal with the things that have going on. Granted, sometimes those things are deep rooted, and that's where I see the necessity for shadow work, because especially in divination, divination is like the key to opening up the inner self and working through the things that you need to work through. And in that way, I think shadow work, working through your shadow, is completely necessary. But no, I do not like to. I think that it's healthy for a person to constantly remain working on the shadow self. I do not think that there needs to be a necessary time throughout the year where you work on it. A lot of people go inward during the dark time of the year, after Samhain, before Beltane. I think that's stupid. I think it should be, everything should be in moderation. So you need to constantly work on your inner self, work on your outer self, work on your witch self, work on everything in a fluid motion, and that is that will keep me happy when I hear you ranting and bitching about things, you New Agers, about working through your shadow self. Maybe it wouldn't be that hard if you continue to work on it instead of putting everything very deep down and then only working on it after Samhain hits and it's cold outside.
And that was PC, y'all. That was PC.
I was thinking the same thing.
And actually, it was. But
Compared to what I normally
yeah,
say.
I know. I think I agree, and I think by working with the cards in this show, people hopefully will get a grasp on how to work through, because a lot of people talk about shadow work and they talk about the shadow self, but not a lot of people express like how to work through it or what, like, and give examples. Everyone's process is going to be slightly different. The way you handle things will be slightly different, but at least through what we're going to be doing tonight, you'll have like an understanding of how you can benefit from each experience, how you can benefit from something that seems very harsh, and how you can use that to fuel your present and to create a future of your liking. And that does not get discussed a lot. People are just saying, "Oh, you've been an asshole lately, and you've said some really harsh shit. So you must be going through like your shadow self. You must be facing some shit, and so that you should deal with that." But people don't tell you how or give you a way to know how to deal with something. Miss Melissa, what is your take on shadow work?
Well, and I don't know, Hunter, you could probably relate to this. Southerners don't really like to face things like that. we either actually one of two ways. We either like pull out the crazies and are like, oh my gosh, we're so proud of the crazies, or and the deep dark secrets and the skeletons in our closet, like we'll like put them on the front porch, or we act like they don't exist. So shadow work to me has been kind of a challenge in my life because we're kind of raised either display it proud or shut the hell up. So but whenever I first really understood what that terminology was about, I can't remember. I want to say it was a Cunningham thing, but maybe not. It was one of the more lighter versions of witchcraft books that I'd read in the past. And they were all like, okay, well, you should do this on a monthly kind of thing, like during the dark of the moon. That's what that whole period is for. And as much as I don't really necessarily agree with that, I like the fact that it was expressed as a regular thing. Not just, well, we should do this at a certain time, like a certain season. Granted, I can understand why people do tend to reflect more in the fall or in the winter because you're stuck at home and there's nothing else for you to do, so you start sort of traveling inwards. But honestly, to me, it's something that you should really devote a little bit of time every day to work on. I don't know if you saw this post that I posted today or yesterday on my Facebook page, but anyway, it's basically this guy, and I forget his name, he's like from Hawaii, and pardon the thunder, y'all, there's like a storm going on. So if you hear rumbling, that's what it is. Anyway, his thing was every day, walk around your house like this. Not because you're being humble, not as a humbling thing, but more he's like, don't think, don't sit there and run through the shit you have to do today, for 5, 10, 15 minutes a day, however long you need, just feel you. Feel who you are. To me, that is like the simplistic version of shadow work. Right. Feeling who you are. And he advised doing that every single day. He said, and even when you're going, he's like, now don't do it on the street because people are going to look at you like you're crazy. He's like, but while you're doing things, feel this on the inside. He's like, you can't think horrible thoughts, really. He said, you're not going to be thinking, oh, I look fat today, or I'm having a horrible hair day. He's like, you're going to be thinking about how, everything's coming from your heart. It's going to be kindness. It's going to be love aimed at yourself. So you can, express that outwardly as well as inside. And to me, that is like the essence of shadow work. Feeling yourself, dealing with who you are on a daily basis.
Right. Yeah, I like that because there's power in like hand gestures, and there's power in when you do this, you automatically go like internal, and you have this specific essence that comes over you, and you pay attention to that. The thing that it's really hard because when people say shadow work, it's like they created a term to make something sacred, which it is sacred. Processing your own shit, taking responsibility for your own shit, that is sacred, but it's necessary. But I feel like it also limits people because they think that it's only, like Hunter said earlier as well, is like it's only a certain time of the year that you do it, or there's only certain moments where you do it. When in actuality, it's just life. It is a process of life, and sometimes it's very hurtful. It's very challenging. It's big issues, and it comes forth, and we have to process and we have to deal with it. So this is not something that just happens, every winter. It's something that we're constantly going through. So having something expressed as shadow work, and people think of it as only ever so often when it's just a daily, again, like you said, it's a daily thing. Um, it's,
The
it's just we all
Spirit Witch has made a comment that she has been working through shadow work questions set by Kelly Ann. In the last few days, I decided that nursing is not for me. Once I made the decision to go into psychiatric work instead of nursing, I felt a huge weight lifted off my chest. She also said we all need to do shadow work. That's true. I mean, you can't not face who you are.
right, and
It's going to, like, hit you in the damn face, like, hard if you just keep avoiding it.
That is
right.
actually so perfect. That comment was perfect because it is so in line with the card that I pulled earlier today. You have sometimes to face your true self, and I would rather say true self instead of shadow self, because that's you're trying
Right.
to be
Right.
authentic to your soul. You're trying to be. Your goal is to bring what makes you outward, and live as authentically and true to your soul's purpose as possible. And that, my card earlier today matches that perfectly, because you have to ask yourself those hard questions when doing quote unquote shadow work. You have to. That's the Melissa, you said it perfect. They're in this culture specifically, not necessarily just the South. We like to hide what is wrong with us. We like to hide. We do not want society to think that we have issues or we have problems. And that is such a foolish way to think. Let your freak flag fly. Don't hide the crazy. We have a saying in my family: do not hide the crazy, because the crazy will come out regardless. So if you live it, and you live it authentically, and you let it come out, then you're living a more happier life, because you're not having to hide what and who you are from the outside world. And society in general likes to pound down on who we are, because it wants us to fit in these little bubbles. And if you don't fit in this category or this category, and you just create your own, society doesn't like that. And that, there's a lot of things that bring us into a point where we're no longer happy, and shadow work tends to focus on pulling out that and making us a more happier person. It's not living in the dark so much, oddly enough. It's actually bringing light to your inner
Right.
darkness.
Which I actually like how you express true self and authentic self, because and we'll get into the cards in just a second, but when we express it as shadow self, and I feel like it has a very specific energy, and people automatically think shadow, dark, negative, even though we know that that's not always the case. But so many people have that, like, just, deep down, that belief that shadow is dark, negative, scary. And yes, it usually when we process this stuff and we work through it, it's very challenging, and it's not always a nice experience. But what we have to also realize is at the end of it, we're usually in a better place. We might be very raw and vulnerable, but we are in a better place because of it. And then at that place, we're able to process more and bring more, like, light, information, initiation, all that type of energy into that experience to move forward and to heal and to become anew.
Right, but I honestly don't mind the term shadow work for one reason. It doesn't. I mean, it's all in your perspective.
Right.
But a lot of times it's just the stuff we hide from ourselves. Now, just because you're hiding it from yourself, it doesn't mean it's necessarily a negative thing. It could be a very positive thing. don't want to deal with it right now.
Right.
You know, I mean, for the longest time, personally, you know, I feel like I'm, and I know I drive these two crazy with it, but I can be retardedly positive. But that's just a person that I am, and for the longest time, I hid that part of myself because I knew it could drive people crazy because I'm like, you know, no one's just happy all the time about everything. But then I just came to the times like that's just the person that I am. You know?
we call it hippy dippy Melissa moments.
Yes. And they're wonderful. They really are. And she is, and it's okay to be that. And that's not something you should ever have to hide. Yes, other people will get annoyed, but that's on them. That's because they either are jealous or they're like, I'm not in that place right now. But it's good for you, for anyone like, you know, like that, to be able to express yourself and be comfortable with that, because the assholes of the world, the people who are very, you know, could be very crotchety and very, like, just, you know, grumpy, they need that. And they really do, because that very, you know, hyper energy, that uplifting energy, and then you have someone who's, like, not, a lower energy, is kind of cranky. When they interact, it might annoy them, but on some level, it helps to transform.
Right, exactly. And that, to me, is... And that's another part of just your shadow self. To me, shadow work means the things we hide from ourselves. It doesn't necessarily have a connotation of if it's a good or bad or positive or negative thing. It's just the stuff we stick in the corners that we don't want to look at. So, Chelsea has a question. Did you see that?
Does this correlate with underworld journeying? No. I mean, no. We'll just say no, because we can get into, like, a whole different conversation, but this specific, like, this discussion and what we're going to express tonight, it does not have to do with anything, it has nothing to do with journeying, so...
No, but
at least not from this plane. This is a very much this plane conversation.
This plane inside, but that is one of the reasons I don't like the term shadow work, because it has so much connotation with it that I don't know. I think somebody was just like, "Ooh, let me try to impress as weirdly as possible." Actually, the new age, it's not super new age. Carl Jung brought about the theory of the shadow self. And for those of you that don't know who Carl Jung is, he was a very famous. Well, he was many things, but we'll say psychologist. He studied the mind.
Well, it's like paranormal psychology more than anything, really. And his last name is spelled J-U-N-G, for those of you who are like, I don't know what you're talking about, because his name is not pronounced the way it's spelled.
Yes, it's Young, but Jung is how it's spelled.
Right.
But he kind of defined the term, but his expression of it was not this deep, dark, mysterious thing. It was actually really, it was named very ironically, and that was kind of his. He's a weirdo dude. He really is. So that was kind of his I think his nod to the very practice itself, because it can be super ironic, because you're really bringing forth something that you've hidden, but it's not in your shadows. A lot of times you're hiding it in plain sight. And so
exactly.
But no, as far as that goes, that's why I don't like the term, because it does hold a connotation of like going into the darkness, crossing the hedge,
right,
things like that. So, but no, for the sake of this conversation, it may help one to journey, but that's for another show.
That is a whole different conversation, and we could go on for days about that. But let's start with the cards. Let's what should we focus on, y'all? If you want us to focus on a specific category, then we will do that. Just throw your questions, throw your categories up here. What should we focus on now? Okay, so before y'all have some time to think, and I'll read this question from the Pagan Scholar. This is a little silly, but do you think Kellyanne popularized shadow work within the YouTube pagan community. I mean, she's all about young, and shadow work is one of her big deals. If nothing else, it might be commentary on our contemporary community. I will say yes, because she's very, I mean, I don't know Kellyanne, I don't really know her work, but I know a lot of people who subscribe to her. She's very influential in the way she expresses herself, is very passionate, and, awesome for her. And I have not seen the video or whatever. Someone wants to, like, link me to it in the comments or whatever, go ahead, but or please do, I should say. But I have not seen that. But yeah, I would say, because I've had her name pop up a lot lately, and in regards to shadow work and that expression, and I don't have a thunderstorm or anything, but I have kids in the background, so they be screaming. I got demons. Yep. Okay, so yes, I would say it's not silly. It is absolutely more than possibility, because of how influential she is, and that goes for anyone who has influence.
See, and I don't even know who Kellyanne is, so I can't really comment on that because I don't know a lot of people that are like big in the pagan community. But I do recommend people actually read Carl Jung, because people read it and get things that he's not even talking about. I mean, if she was a really big fan of Carl Jung, then her idea of shadow work would be more closely to what we have been expressing versus, what's being expressed. I mean, read it for yourself and take what you want out of it, however you decide to interpret it. But he is one of those people, to me, that gets misinterpreted and tossed way in left field from where he's actually coming from. I actually kind of enjoy him. I mean, some of his ideas, I'm just kind of like, eh. But I like him.
I agree. I agree. I enjoy him. I think he's a little out there with some theorem, but I do enjoy him. It's just that the way that it's being popularized, and I am semi-familiar with Kellyanne, but and I'm not necessarily, this is not anything against her or whatsoever, because if that is the way she chooses to influence others and she feels that that is what is necessary for the moment, and people are actually getting something out of it in a positive way, who am I to say yay or nay to it? But the way it's popularized in the more contemporary-based pagan community, or I should say neo-pagan, because it is a very new age, very neo-pagan practice to work on shadow work in such a sacred, ritualistic way. And I think it's not necessarily the practice of it that is the issue. I think that it's a lot of the timing that's the issue. I think that it is so ritualized that people feel that it's necessary to hold sacred rites for it at certain times of the year. There has to be a big ritualistic going into oneself, staying there for days on end. That's a struggle for anybody. Nobody wants to be there days on end. So if you work with it, like I said earlier, in moderation, and you deal with who you are inside, and you bring that person out on a regular basis, and you get to know who the fuck you are, excuse my French, it's not an issue. But I love that comment. Like, I love
that. Got little feet back here going. Yeah. Well, we need to get into like the cards, because my cards are just like. But the Spirit Witch says people love lists, especially witches. It's an easier way to witch, and I have to comment on that. I hate lists. I hate them with a passion. I do.
They don't work for me. I don't know if it's my hyperactive nature or whatever. I can make lists. I mean, they're nice reminders, but they stress me out, because I'm like, oh shit, I haven't done this today, and I freak out, and I'm just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. and it just adds way more pressure to it. And I have never used lists in my witchcraft, but then that's just not how I witch. I'm a very instinctual. This is what I truly feel needs to be done today, so therefore I'm going to do it.
Right, then who wants the past, who wants the present, who wants the future?
I don't care.
Okay, you can have the present, Melissa, you can have the oh, fuck. You can have the future, and I'll take the past.
You did it to yourself.
I did. That's stupid. What should we focus on? Well, it's since we're doing shadow, like talking about releasing and stuff. A lot of people, what seems to be like the majority of what like, the energy that's coming forth, facing like a lot of old patterns. What should we focus on? That's the challenge. Y'all can hint, y'all can say some shit over here, give me something to go by.
Well, as it goes with the past, a lot of people the problem with moving forward is that they hold on to past memories, past issues, past addiction, past abuse, past.
That's the one we have to do. Abuse. So, okay, we'll deal with abuse. So. And that I'm going to focus on like physical, mental, spiritual, all of it. So that is something very important because everyone has gone through abuse in one form or another, and no one has like the perfect upbringing, the perfect life experience. Everyone has their own version and to them very important challenges, and whether it be emotional abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, everything.
And sometimes the person is not necessarily holding on to the fact that they were. A lot of times they hold on to the fact that they were the abuser.
Right. Ew, that just gave me the chills. It's very challenging, and that you're working through a lot of shit when you're uncomfortable either talking about it, expressing it, and you're uncomfortable when you're trying to work through something. You know that you're hitting something because there's discomfort. But growth, in order for growth to happen, you have to kind of be uncomfortable ever so often. And I'm using the Vampire Oracle. It's super cute. I thought it was very fitting for this discussion.
I like that deck.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right. So I got the... oh, fuck. Okay. So, I'm sorry for the freaking glare. Rude as fuck. That says pray.
Well, this is gonna get deep. I love these uncomfortable ones.
So in order to express pray, which, the little words right here is stalked, invaded, and watched. And all right, so in regards and alignment with the topic of abuse, this really expresses and I hate to use this word, but I'm going to use this word to express a certain energy. But this card right here expresses, that is annoying me, the victim. This card expresses that which, the target, I should say, the target of abuse. And this more so is physical abuse to me, and it fucked up with someone's head. And, the energy of the past is like you went through something very long term. This is abuse that has happened, a very long term experience, unfortunately, something that has stuck with you. And this, I'm also getting like domestic abuse, and that is very challenging to discuss and to express because I've known quite a few people who have endured this. I have a friend who experienced domestic abuse very intensely and basically almost died from it, and it was a very challenging experience for her and to talk about. And but pray is a hard thing because when you talk about abuse, you're talking about there is another person or another situation, another individual group of people who are there trying to take your power away from you. They are there trying to hurt you physically, emotionally, spiritually. They're watching you. They have invaded your space. They have broken down barriers. Entered they've entered into your experience and they have violated you. And violation is something that is very hard to overcome. It's challenging to overcome. It is not impossible, but it's very challenging. And so the past experience in regards to abuse is talking about people who have been violated and on all levels, and more so on the level of something that has taken and has progressed into something that was very long lasting, and this is something that sticks with you, and this is something that has been done to you. It is a hard thing uh, to even want to talk about. It's a hard thing to even want to express because this type of abuse, this type of experience is something that people are made to feel like shameful, like it was their fault. It was their a lot of people who are preyed upon feel like they did it. They call it to them. They were somehow responsible for what happened to them, for what they experienced, and it's a challenging thing. So let's see. Pagan Scholar says perhaps if we are speaking of prey and abuse, it could be seeing oneself as prey, putting oneself through prey, sort of putting oneself in the victim mentality and feeling like prey, not denying the crimes, but allowing the violation to make you a victim.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So that's the past situation. That's what we're going to be talking about. And a little more positive nature from this is going to be the next card that comes forth that is going to express how we can use that experience and what we can learn from it and what we can do good with.
So, Hunter, that's
Was that my
Hunter.
name, or are you going to continue? Oh, okay.
No, I don't feel like I want to continue on this. Thank you.
Well, I wish that I do not have an Oracle deck. I'm using the Raven's Prophecy. But I think the most important lesson that we could actually learn from the past and the card of prey is the card of release. Because it is essential, or even forgive would be an excellent card to go with that. But my cards are not going to express that in word, but who knows what they may express. Let's see. Okay. I pulled the Three of Cups. And so I'm going to hold it up just a bit longer so you can see, and I have a terrible glare too. I'm sorry about that. Well, the Three of Cups is a wonderful card to get as your present. You have worked through that past. You have prayed. You have been the prey. You have released and you have forgiven, and now you're a moment in the moment of your life where you can not necessarily relax. That's not really what is being pulled forth from this card, but necessarily honor the person that you are because of the person that you had to fight to get out of.
Right.
Because a lot of times it's like mind shifting. So shadow work in and of itself, it's reliving a lot of things. Initially, you have to relive these past experiences, and that person that you were seems to try to creep up on you and make that person present and
Right.
give that energy life in your present. And shadow work helps to bring that out put it forth. You honor the person, you honor that place, and you honor the things that happened to you, no matter what it was. In this case, it was abuse. Whether it be you were the abuser of someone, or you were abused by someone, or any aspect of that word abuse, you honor it and you move forward. And in the present now, you take those experiences and you learn to not only honor yourself, but honor those around you, and know that each and every person has the struggle and the tribulation that they've gone through. And a lot of times we forget that. We like to play victim so much, and this is not a negative thing. It's just, I think it's just a natural reaction to some people, that we forget that other people have had similar, if not worse, life experiences, and we don't take that for granted. The Three of Cups honors it's me honoring you. It's me looking at your shadow self and realizing that though I may have had a bad past, I honor you and I hold my cup up to you and the person that you are and the person that you've made it from, just as I want you to hold your cup up to me. And for this moment, we honor who we were and we focus on who we are now and what we will become.
Yeah, and I really like that interpretation of that, but also it can be a celebration of the fact that you accepted the fact that at one point in time, yes, you had this really crappy, moment in your life, and it could have been a long moment, it could have been a short moment, but it happened, and now you're away from it. Obviously that isn't always the case. But a lot of people keep themselves, even though they're away from that kind of relationship, they keep themselves in that mentality.
Uh-huh.
And that is that can be a process, to get past that victim feeling, that feeling of constantly being prey. And to me, that card can also reflect finally moving past that, knowing that you are no longer a victim, that you're taking control of your life, that you've gotten yourself out of that situation. Even if you had to have help, it doesn't matter because you took the steps to get out. That is one of the hardest things for very many people, is just getting out.
Right.
And yeah, I would I do like the enjoyment of the Three of Cups and kind of the celebration of what you've been through. I love that. It's also very much a I don't know how to word it. I don't want to say a party card. Like,
it is a party. I mean,
right. It's like a celebration of what and who you are, and it's like I love. Did you say acceptance? Acceptance of what you've been through, and is that what you said, Melissa?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
it.
Perfect. That's just like amazing.
It's really challenging when you have people who love the tarot and the oracle so much, when just like you're like, oh, I want to say this, I want to say this. Like, shit. To expand on that as well, threes represent growth and communication. Mm-hmm. And ravens are very magical and transformative. They represent express birth and rebirth and death, of course. So it could also mean that you need to find a support group. If it's something that you can't process on your own, you need to find a support group. You need to find people who you can celebrate with, in the sense of coming together and releasing, and also focusing on the positive, because you can't just focus on the hurt and the pain and stay there. You have to work through it, release it, and focus on something that, like, just a grain of, like, positive, hippy dippy Melissa moment energy, and move forward. You have to have that in your head where you can grasp that. And before we get to the future expression, I want to read what the pagan scholar has expressed. He said, if it were reversed, I would say Three of Cups would be denial and false happiness to fool others, but as it's upright, it's a message of dancing with your shadow or laughing with your demons. I like that. And owning your struggles. Sorry, I'm commenting so much. No, love, that's fine. That's what we want. We want people to communicate with us and share in this because, and especially tonight, because shadow work and this topic is something that we all kind of, work through. And so we take the prey, and we take the three of cups, and we enter the future.
I love that card because to me it is something that naturally should follow. It's the dress of alchemy, and it says release your power, and that is such a powerful message. Not just because it's talking about power, but the fact that once you've gone through those stages of you were a victim, you felt like you were responsible, you were in an abusive relationship, you've gotten out of it, now you're talking about it, you're comfortable in the fact that you have actually left that in the past, you're now facing your present. Releasing your power is claiming back the fact that you were never a victim to begin with. Not in the sense that obviously you were a victim and someone abused you, but that you were not at fault.
Right.
And not only are you, you processed the abuse, and you've processed the fact that you've gotten away from it, but now you can truly be the person you are meant to be. And not to say that, oh, well, you're even stronger now. Well, that doesn't kill you, makes you stronger. I know that's extremely cliche, but it's cliche for a reason. It's extremely true. Right. You've gone through some horrible shit. And as much, yes, I agree with Hunter in the fact that everyone does go through horrible stuff. I found that, at least in my experience, knowing people who've been abused, having a pretty not so great childhood myself, we tend to think that, of course, people are worse off than us, so therefore our problems aren't significant.
Right.
So in this, to me, the release your power is understanding that, no, your problems are just as significant as everyone else's because they are your problems, and you are conquering that problem. Be proud of yourself. Step into the person that has made you, and push forward. Claim that power.
These cards are going to make me cry.
I know, right? I'm just like, I won't cry. No,
there's so much power. That I love that card. Will you hold that card up one more time?
Yes, I will.
So you see around the crown of her head, that light that is shining forth.
Yeah.
I guess it's maybe the sunrise or something. But that is very much a part of the transformative process. The best victims in the world have learned from that situation and progressed into something. And a lot of times you'll find that the best people to speak to as it goes to an issue is someone that has been in that situation, because they understand it a little bit better. And just a brief anecdote that goes along with I know it was alchemy. What is that? Dress of alchemy?
Dress of alchemy. Release your power.
I have a friend, and this is not the case for a lot of people in my life, but for her specifically, she was a narcotic abuser, and for many years that was her life. She again with abuse, she abused drugs. And that was where she was. And then she stepped out of that, and she recovered through that. And then going along with the dress of alchemy, now what her main goal is in life is to take all of that she has learned throughout that process. And she's very active in Celebrate Recovery, which very much goes with the Three of Cups perfectly. And now she is actually working on becoming a counselor, taking that transformative process and releasing it out into the world to help others that have been through a similar situation, which is very much so Dress of Alchemy. That
yes, it is.
And so that's a lot of, And a lot of that with drug addiction in general, people would think that it's a physical issue, but it is so much more than that. And it is very much shadow work to pull yourself out of a situation that you were in abusing drugs and using drugs and having that addiction, that physical addiction. There's so much mental that goes into that, so much spiritual and so much emotional energy that you go through to get yourself out of that situation. You are very much in the process of shadow work. You, in any way, form, or positive. And some people can be addicted to being the victim because and not in a negative way, that's the only life they know. Mm-hmm. So it's easy to step into that past role because it's what they know. It's frequented by their spirit, and it holds them back because they're afraid to transform. They're afraid to become more, because that more is encased in shadow. It's not something that they're familiar with. And
yeah. And on a more witchy note of things, this also is expressing to a lot of people struggle with power. A lot of people struggle with becoming more and doing more, and this is expressing more so like in order for you to become a stronger witch, a stronger practitioner, you can't deny what you experience, and in order to clear that, obviously we have to work through that and enter the Three of Cups, and if we honor the Three of Cups, if we find our support group, if we find that celebration and looking at what we experienced and what we encountered as something that no longer has control over us, something that no longer has power over us, and when we raise our cup and we celebrate that we are free from that, we enter the alchemy, we enter release your power, and you become a very powerful person because you do not have that and holding you back. And as we know, which is our power is strongly linked to our emotions. When you feel something so deeply, you have immense power. And so when you finally release that hold that experience had over you, you are now able to look at it and channel like the power from that experience, and channel the power from even just releasing it, giving yourself more energy. You have more added energy to help you through. So you become more. You step into your true self. You step into something you really are. I think we're gonna have to do like one more because we've been talking for like days.
I was just thinking the same thing.
So if y'all want us to focus on like a category, we'll give you a few seconds to express something you want us to focus on. Otherwise, we're gonna have to discuss and decide which one we want to do. I think maybe it'd be interesting to have like a segment, like do these ever so often. Because it is a process, and it might be something that would be worth talking about more. We don't have to talk about the introductory of shadow work and stuff like that, but we can just get right, down and dirty and express, like, on different, subjects, different topics, categories, whatever you want to express. I think that'd be cool.
I too, and to me this goes along really well with our healing show we did here a while back. It's definitely along the same lines, and we just honestly, I want to say that show even really was more about the emotional side of things. It got pretty intense about some stuff.
So if no one expresses what they want us to focus on, do y'all have a topic you want to tackle?
More along the lines of getting a bit more in the witchy. God, we've discussed like a fucking shit ton of stuff. But the like witchcraft related as with shadow work.
Oh, so do you want to focus on like how do you word it? Like almost like empowering the witch, like for
right, like confidence, finding your confident self, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
like the past would represent like the that past witch, that weaker experience, that whatever held us back, and the present would express. Um, Sorry, I totally just saw something else. The present would express what we do, from the past experience, how we use that to fuel our present moment, and then the future would express how we become even more potent. Um, do we want to? Why does he have to have so many good ones? Um, let's focus on that, and then we'll take the pagan scholars like questions, and we'll do either a blog post or we'll do another video and add those. Because I don't want to like ignore those because they're good.
Yeah, they are good.
So I'll do that. So sorry that I'm not gonna. Let's focus on what we just said.
Okay, what
And
did we just say?
Empowering the witch.
yeah, we're
Empowerment.
focusing on the witch, like empowering the witch. And who wants to do past? Who wants to do present? Who wants to do future?
I'll do present.
I don't care. Show me what to do.
Well, you do past then, because I just said past. So I'll do future.
that would make sense. Okay. Okay.
Oh, right then. So we'll shuffle the deck.
That means I go first.
It does mean you go first, but don't worry. Don't worry. Be happy. Oh my. And if y'all want to know, before as you shuffle, I'll just read his questions. The first one was, what about things that we cannot affect? We talk about energy and intent, but there are some healings that we can't do. We can't heal cancer or HIV away with energy. How do we engage with powerlessness? That's a very powerful question, and I want to tackle that, and we will, but not tonight. And then his other question expression was, in a witchcraft way, how do we remain witchy in the face of hard difficulties? That's another good one. And we will. I have it saved. We are definitely going to be tackling those because those are awesome.
Well, and his second suggestion, how do we remain witchy in the face of hard difficulties, that kind of aligns pretty well with empowering the witch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that one could actually come up anyway. I love both of those. These are very, very good questions.
Oh no.
It's been a cup and a coin day for me.
Coin day.
So different. So, the Four of Coins, which is one of my favorite cards out of this deck, mind you.
Ooh.
As it goes to the past and the witch and the empowerment, which would be the main focus on where we want to be and where we can be now and where we were in the past. This card, and y'all, you have to bear with me with this deck because it is so obscure compared to a normal tarot deck, which is kind of why I love it. It is thorns and it's bound. It is tied down. It is so. The witch is so bound up tight that it can't get out and it can't go anywhere. It is like a baby witch in a way, and we're talking about our past. And I can tell you that I went through this, and I don't know how many other witches went through this, but there was a time where I struggled with the empowerment of the witch. Where was I? Where was I going to in this? And I feel like this is necessary as it goes to witchcraft and paganism, for that matter. Was I going to say goodbye to the religious views that I was raised with, because they tied down my inner witch and they kept it bound up tightly, because those teachings meant that who I was as a person was wrong, and not okay. It wasn't okay, and I come from a Christian background, as you can guess by what I'm saying, is that the witch is so wrong in the Christian aspect of things that my inner witch, and I can feel it. I can feel that energy so tightly, and which is maybe I need to go back and work on that actually, because it's bringing up a lot of emotions right now. I thought that I was wrong. I thought that the person that I was wrong, and I tried to escape it so many times. I tried to leave my path several times throughout my teenage years, not successfully, thankfully not successfully, I might add, but it was a situation where everything that I was being taught by my family and by my religion of the time was telling me to get away from those things. Those were the things of Satan, and those were the things of evil, and to be the very thing that I was wrong. And I myself, not just with my outside external forces, but myself tied down that part of me. I bound that part of me, and I said, no, I'm not going to be witch because it's wrong and it's not okay. And then there was a moment that I had when I was about 16 years old, and I started practicing when I was 14, where I said, you know what? Fuck everything, and yes, I'm cussing like a sailor tonight. Screw everything that's telling me that who I am is wrong, and who the person that I am, and the practice that makes me happy, and the growth that I feel when I am practicing witchcraft, and I'm practicing the person that I am and my authentic self, because which is who I was in the past, and which is who I am now, and which will be what I am in the future. And until I realized that, and I had that realization, I was bound tightly, and those vines were just engrossing me spiritually and emotionally, and making me a horrible person. And once I cut those vines and I released who I am, then I could go on and I could be happy and I could breathe again. And this card represents so much of there's no air, there's no room to breathe, there's no growth. It is it's very much a card of suffocation, and that is the past. And then I grew and I embraced that. I need to work on that some more, obviously, but we'll go with Melissa and talk about the present.
Before we do, I just wanted to express that card is very powerful. It also reminds me of the sacrifice and the hurt, the suffering that our ancestors and the witches who have come before us, that they endured and they had to take, and it's not very fun. It's not a good experience, and that expresses the past of the witch, like where we come from. And I said this in a different video as well. Like, we have to remember where we come from. We have to remember that what we are capable of is very powerful and very potent, but we can't forget where we come from. And if we do, we deny a very strong power source from us. And it's very emotional for me, because it's a very, so many people don't realize, like, the challenge and the abuse, really, that many of our ancestors and many of the witches before us, and even today, that they still receive, that shapes us. And we at that time, we were powerful, and it was through those intense emotions. And now we go into the present and see how we can heal from that and learn to be more because of that.
Well, for just a second, because it's just totally weird how this happened, before Hunter pulled his card, I was shuffling my cards, and I pulled our present card, which I'll show you in just a second, and then this card fell out immediately afterwards, and I guess it just felt like it had to be shared with Hunter's card, because it's pretty much the same message, which it says, strangely lonely, holding on way too tight. which to me falls along so well with Hunter's Four of Cups card, because that tends to be something that we do at first. We hold on way too tight to old beliefs, not really ready to accept the person that we're becoming, especially when you have strong influences, like if you were brought up in a Christian home, or even if you were brought up in a whole other religion, if you were brought up in a, Catholic home, in a Jewish home, even in like Hinduism and Buddhism. I mean, as much as those are a little bit more lenient and more accepting, not sometimes, not so much. So just depending on the family you come from. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. But my card is, and I'm using the Oracle of Shadow and Light. I don't know if I ever said anything about that, but that's what this is. So anyway, my card for the present is Ghost of the Pumpkin Patch. Count your blessings. So I really like this card as a present card. To me, it definitely reflects things that we can go through as witches, especially when it comes to empowering ourselves. A lot of times, I know I have, I'm sure these guys have as well, we get to the point in our craft where we kind of take everything for granted. We see all this stuff, and it's not quite contempt. Oh, I'm sorry. That's my tornado warning. Should have turned that down. Anyway, and they do it now while like everything's passed and it's finally stopped thundering. Anyway, we what was I saying? Oh, count your blessings. So we sort of get into this point in our witchcraft where everything's kind of blasé. The newness is worn off. We're bored sometimes. We get to being more of an armchair witch than actual practicing witch because we're just not challenged, and when you enter that phase in your witchcraft, count your blessings. Count your blessings. That is a really important thing. Realize how far you come. It takes a lot of work to get from the point where you're holding on really tightly to who you once were because you're uncomfortable with who you're becoming. That is a lot of work. Realize how far you've come and really appreciate that fact. Appreciate the fact that you have this, new sense of self, that you have this power, and realize that, hey, it's okay. I can be kind of in a stagnant moment, be more, not really stagnant, but more focused on the now, and still be really happy about it. Still understand that, wow, I've come so far, and I'm going to recognize that. So.
In the same breath is just adding on to what Michael said earlier in response to my card is the the ancestral witches, the witches of the past, and the sacrifices that were made, and continue to make, but specifically the ones that were literally, it was illegal to be who they were, and so we are in a place in the present now that it's not illegal to be who we are, which is hilarious because
for the most part.
Yeah, for the most part, it's hilarious because the witches of old, a lot of times, now granted they were engrossed in secrecy for reasons, but they took pride in their craft, and more witches of the past took more pride in their craft in a time of secrecy and a time of danger, as opposed to witches now who they don't count the blessings that they are, that they can be who they want to be, and not legally be ashamed of it, not be afraid of the consequences of the legal matter, and not literally die for who they are. And those are blessings that need to be counted as well. And just the appreciation of when you do get bored and you do go through those phases, remember that in your, at least you were allowed to get to the point where you could get bored with your craft.
Right.
There's a lot that never made it to that point. And yeah, so yeah, count your blessings.
And it can still be a challenge, you know. I mean, depending on where you live and the things that you're going through. I mean, especially right now. I'm not even going to get into the whole politics of it, but a lot of states are really being strict on Christianity and religious intolerance, as well as intolerance of other people and the way they live their lifestyle.
Right.
So definitely not to belittle that in any way, because a lot of people do have to still be pretty secretive. But at the same time, as much as you may lose your job over it, you probably won't lose your life over it. So,
right.
And that is a very good thing. So we have a lot to be thankful for, not to mention the fact that we have this. We have technology. We can come together and see each other and talk to each other and have support with each other, have a community that we can belong to. And that is so different even from just 5 to 6 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so to me, I'm thankful for that all the time. And it honestly really helps because I have these guys, so whenever I'm like, I'm just not feeling creative, and they'll kick me in the ass and be like, go do something, you know. So, I mean, we have that support and we have that community, and that is something that I think a lot of us take for granted, that we really should.
That's funny that you say that, because I was just about to express that part of counting your blessings is to not take for granted who you are. And you just can't. You know, people, back in the day when you'd be killed for being who you are, more, not all, but more practitioners were very, again, proud of their craft, and they took it seriously, and they practiced when, you know, they made it what it was. And today, like was already expressed, we just forget. We forget the importance of what other people went through to get us to where we are, and we just get too comfortable, and we take for granted what we're able to do, so we get lazy, and we forget everything that has the ability to be bestowed upon us. And that's why there's so many people who don't do anything, because they forget and they don't feel connected. Well, you're not feeling connected because you're not connecting. You're not doing shit. You're taking for granted that you are a witch and that you are a practitioner and that you're able to do something. So you wait and you put shit off to the last minute. It's not a constant experience, and it needs to be a constant thing. Which leaves us into the future, which I really like, actually, and that is free will. And so this card is quite beautiful. Free will, which is sovereignty, independence, and free spirit. If we start appreciating our practice, and not just our practice, but the spirits, not just the spirits, but each other. If we start appreciating and counting our blessings where we have it, and we start practicing and fulfilling that, when we take the present moment seriously, when we are able to live in it and to honor everything that we're able to do, and again, like I said, not take for granted what we are able to accomplish, we will step into this, if you want to call it like an attunement, this initiation, this type of energy where you become free from the shackles of that which has come before. And you are free from that pain, in a sense. You are free from what that energy that was created to inspire and influence. You honor it still, but you do not have to live in it. So you become free from all of that. You become more. You step into spirit. You step into your full self. You step into that power where you are able to have opportunities. You are able to do whatever it is that you seek to do. And you might, a lot of people will say, well, we can do that now. No, you can't, because obviously if you could, you would. And I will throw myself in there too, because it happens. Like, we get lazy, and I get lazy, and there's more that I could be doing, and we all could be doing. So no, we again take for granted, and we don't really appreciate what is so open to us right now, and able to be there. So when we take the present moment and we live it, and we appreciate it, and we are grateful for it, and we really are grateful for it, when we don't just say it because we want to feel better about ourselves, when we truly experience and express gratitude, we become free. Our spirit is able to expand and release and express and be wild again.
I love that the gratitude, especially especially right now. I feel like there a lot of times we get caught up in the bickering in the witchy community that we forget, and oh, that was my power flicking. Anyway, we forget to be grateful for the fact that we have this community. You know, we get so caught up in the inner politics of crap that we forget that before, yeah, people weren't bickering like that because they couldn't even talk to their neighbor if their neighbor was a witch or not, for fear of the fact that maybe they were wrong and they die.
Right.
So, I mean, that's a huge difference between then and now. So, and also, speaking of gratitude, I'm just going to read this stuff real quick because it is gratitude. Thank you so much for sharing that. I went through a similar thing being raised Christian myself, and it's a shadow that I deal with on an ongoing basis too, by feather, branch, and stone. Diana also says, listening to you guys say this is more helpful and inspiring than I could ever express. Thank you. So, you know, we all have gone through these kinds of experiences. Obviously, witchcraft is not mainstream. It's not something that's totally accepted everywhere. You know, I have a friend on Facebook who just now figured out that witchcraft is my niche, that's who I am. And so as much as I think she's trying to just be funny, she always sends stuff, like messages me with these left-handed compliments, you know?
Yeah.
And at first it was really bothersome, you know, and now I'm just like, whatever. But I mean, that's just the thing of it. Even the people that say they're okay with it usually aren't really okay with it, and that's something that we have to, you know, we have to figure out. Are we gonna freak out about this? Are we gonna, you know, hide who we are, or are we just gonna accept who we are and say fuck the haters?
And
you know,
I'm guilty of a lot of what you just said, especially as it comes to gratitude for the greater community. I'm a bit of a sourpuss when it comes to New Agers. For lack of a better word, fluffy, and I know that's so not PC in the witch community, but I said it. Oh fuck. But the crafters that I would put a label on, and though that is not the witchcraft that I practice, and in many ways I don't totally branch it as witchcraft in this greater pagan community, greater craft community, there are a lot of practices that I don't appreciate as much, and a lot of times I'm not gracious for them as witches, but I should be, because I should be, you know, we really need to focus on our own and focus on the power that each of us have.
Yes, that's so true. I mean, you know, a lot of times we get caught up in the, oh my gosh, no, what they're saying is totally wrong aspect of witchcraft. And, you know, it's totally okay to disagree. It's okay to disagree. It's the whole judgment part, and I'm guilty of that myself, but it's the whole judgment that goes with it. That, oh, you know, we're going to judge, and that's fine. It's human nature. But we can be a little bit more, not necessarily accepting, but understanding, I guess I should say.
We're all you know, we're all maybe birds of a feather, but different birds.
Right. I mean, we all go through the same thing. I mean,
Right.
imagine how hard it is to not only be not accepted by, society, but also by the pagan or witch community. It's like a double whammy,
Yeah.
So that doesn't make anyone's journey any easier, So that's something we should be conscious of. You don't have to agree. You don't have to practice the way they practice, but but there is. It doesn't cost a damn thing to be nice.
Well. See what we're talking about? Hippy dippy Melissa influence. But
yes.
Close the show. I hope that y'all enjoyed this experience. And if you want us to continue like this as a series, not like every freaking Wednesday or every time we do the show, but ever so often, let us know if you want us to do that. Comment in the YouTube video. Let us know. Give us suggestions on something you want us to talk about in regards to this topic. But before we do close, I want to, I'm going to draw a card from my affirmation deck, just to be all hippy-dippy Melissa-y. So, let's see what we have here. What can we benefit from tonight to close this freaking deeply emotional experience? So, someone pick 1, 2, or 3. One of y'all.
2.
Okay. All right, then. Okay, it says, I rejoice in other people's successes because I know there's plenty for everyone. And
that's such a hippy-dippy Melissa thing.
Yeah. And on the back, it says, my business is prosperous. So, and again, there's enough for all. So, and that goes for everything. So, support and, it's all good. There's no lack. Someone's business is not going to take away from yours because there's enough for everyone to be provided for. So, yes, I rejoice in other people's successes because I know there is plenty for everyone.
Yes, I love that message.
Is there anything else y'all would like to express before we get bye-bye?
Just that I've enjoyed all of the interaction that we've had with the Q&A. I think we've had some brilliant responses, some brilliant questions, and thought-provoking stuff. So thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, y'all. Have a good night. We'll talk to you next time. Peace.
Bye.